What's up, y'all? My name is Estephanie, and I'm here to answer some questions with Sounds of Future.
Is that 508?
Yeah. No, I'm back in this shit. I'm just back in this shit. I'm back in this shit. I'm just back in this shit. Yeah. Whoa. No, I'm back in this shit. I'm back in this shit. I'm back in this shit. Yeah.
So, I'm Stephanie. I'm an artist, singer, songwriter, producer, based in Brooklyn, New York. My main thing is music. That's really all I do nowadays. And yeah, I love all types of forms of art, so I incorporate them all into that too. It was always something that was like very close to me. It was something that was personal to me. I didn't really like share anything that I made for a long time. It wasn't until I started learning more about how to make music, and I started gaining more confidence in terms of my identity and you know, even just like what I wanted to put out and, you know, bring to the world, I guess, because I'm very intentional about what comes out and what my intentions are and what I make. And so it wasn't until then, and then I started getting some good feedback from friends and, you know, a lot of support in the community, and that just kind of motivated me to keep releasing. But I was gonna make music regardless. I feel like it does. I think there's like certain instances where you hear in my music the influences that I get from like things like hip hop, and like, you know, hip hop being such a prominent genre in New York in general, and like so many artists building a forefront for that here. And I also think that, like, you know, growing up in Brooklyn, I was actually very like sheltered for a long time, so I didn't really go out much. And I think that influenced me a lot because I spent a lot of time with myself. So I spent a lot of time experimenting and shaping my sound in that way too. I think it shows a lot in my style, and I think my style is like a part of my identity, and so I think that also plays a role into like where my music goes. And even just what I talk about, honestly, like I think the way that I speak, you know, I got some slang from New York, being born here. And just how I talk about, like, you know, my come up and you know, societal issues. I try to keep it relative to the things that I know, and that's being born and raised in Brooklyn. In terms of how I would describe my sound, I think now, when I used to get asked that question, I wouldn't really know what to say. And now I think if I could like bring it into an umbrella, I would probably say like alternative R&B mixed with neo soul. And I think I pull from all types of influences to, you know, kind of make my own sound within that. I don't know if there's necessarily a particular artist that I look towards when I'm creating, but I think there's a lot of different artists that inspire me in so many different ways. I've always said that like I'm heavily inspired by Solange, and even just like her process and how she works, as well as like her fearlessness when it comes to that transition between working with a group to then entering her solo career and doing her own independent music, and the switch in sound that had. And I also am really inspired by who she is as a person, and just like not necessarily being in the forefront of everyone's faces in terms of like the media, but also is such like a respected name in music. I think in general, my goal is to be the best musician that I can be, to make the best music I've ever made, to make the best creative projects that I've ever made, because I'm also interested in other mediums too, and getting into that. In terms of fame, I think I'm prepared for it, and I'm open to receiving it, but I don't necessarily need to be on everyone's social media page to be, you know, well respected as a musician, if that makes sense. I'd much rather have the goal of just being in the community and in like, you know, the right circles, and making just the shit that I want to make in a sustainable way that I can live a beautiful life and be happy and support my family. And whatever that means, to whatever degree that is, let that be that, you know? Like, I think with me wanting to be the best musician that I can be and make the best stuff that I can make and have the best shows that I can do, I'd love to play for stadiums and play for, numerous amounts of people. I'd love for people to be impacted by my music. I think that's such an honor, no matter how big or small. And so, in that, however I grow in my music and in my art, if that means that I also am met with a certain level of attention, so be it. I think that every artist thinks about this a lot, especially as you continue to grow, because I think the more you grow, the more eyes are on you. And, I think that I'm a firm believer that there's no one way to go about this, and there's, everyone has their own path in terms of success and what that means for them. I feel like I don't necessarily know, or nor do I really have a preference on one or the other. I think the biggest thing for me is just to be able to have full creative control and be able to be sustainable in this life, in this world, and take care of my family, and to be able to do everything that I would like to do with the right team. I think my biggest thing is finding a really good team. So whether that be in the label world, or whether that be independently as an independent artist, crafting that team, I'm much more focused on that. And I believe that whatever that good team is, will fill out the rest. I feel like one of the hardest things about being an artist right now is being able to spend time with yourself for your art. And I don't necessarily just mean like the literal time, which also is very difficult. There's so many artists that are doing more than one thing, that are managing themselves, that have jobs, day-to-day jobs. But I also mean like the time within yourself to focus on what it is that you actually want to make. I think that, in this world with social media and stuff, everything could be kind of distracting. And I think it's a beautiful thing because there's so many artists getting exposure that they deserve, and so many awesome sounds that are coming out. But with that being said, I think that everyone has to get their own limit onto how much they expose themselves to that, and then how much they're sitting by themselves in the quiet and seeing, okay, what am I saying though? What's coming from me? And I think that's probably one of the more difficult things, just because I feel like everything else, follows. Like if you can really speak from your heart and make something that's truly special to you, I think that's the biggest thing about being an artist is being able to really be authentic to you and to create that vision. So I think in a career sense, I would love to have a legacy in music and just be known to be, again, authentic to myself. But that doesn't really matter in terms of the scale of that. You know what I mean? Like, I think like the fact that I was able to carve something new for myself already provides its own legacy. And so however big or small that is, I don't really need to be known by every single person on the block. But I think that, the respect that comes from just me knowing that I did what I wanted to do, I think is a good enough legacy for me. And in terms of a person, I would love to be known as a good person. I would love to be known as someone who was able to use the most opportunities that I was able to get to give back and do something good for the world. I would hope to be known as somebody who speaks the truth through my music and who cares about people. I would love to be known as someone who was never too detached to have a conversation with somebody or with a stranger. And yeah, I think just someone who was a good person. That's the best you can be known for, I think. So I just released an EP back in September called I've Been Busy. It's co-produced by myself and Stuart Innes. And this EP is a 6-track EP, and all of the songs kind of range around pulling from different musical genres or soundscapes, but kind of talking about myself and getting to know me a little bit more, but also about society and the world we live in. A lot of topics include like love and peace and, you know, ending war and stopping genocide and, you know, also just the day-to-day struggles of, you know, someone living in my shoes, and, you know, trying to figure this out and trying to figure myself out in the process. You know, what it's like to have growing pains as a young woman, what it's like to grow into being an adult after still feeling like you're just a kid and figuring it out. Yeah, I would say that's what I've Been Busy is about. If any of that resonates you, feel free to check it out. And then in terms of the future, I'm always doing shows. I'm probably doing a show. I like to do a show at least like once a month. So if you check me out on my socials, you'll probably see that I'm doing a show. I have some new music coming out. We're gonna say next year. But yeah, I'm really excited about that. I don't want to say too much about what it is or what it will be, but I'm excited about it. So yeah. If I could offer any advice, words of wisdom, to as wise as I am right now, stay true to yourself. Don't be afraid to fall. And spread love everywhere you go, because it'll only come right back.
Back in the field, back like I never left, ready to spill. Only got one shot, I go for the kill. Could've went platinum with thoughts of the drill, but I found a better way without a deal.